So today I wanted to talk briefly about the difference between GeoAI and Embedded Spatial Intelligence. Now, GeoAI has been a term that's been used for a little while. The industry's the geospatial industry kind of started to use it a lot. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of it. I think like Ed Parsons, I'm not really keen on attaching the word geospatial and AI together. It's just artificial intelligence at the end of the day, but I suppose we have to kind of talk about our difference a little bit. But I see GeoAI as part of the 1.5, the geospatial 1.5 world. Why do I say that? I say that because it's a map-first approach to getting to a conclusion about something. So when one looks at examples of GeoAI, when I see those examples, often it's a map interface. You'll sometimes get a ChatGPT type generative AI panel on one side, which is essentially asking questions of the map. Where a lot of attention's been kind of focused is in the machine learning world. And as I often say, the 1.5 world is really bolting on AI to a map-first perspective. So, for example, and I'll use this example in a minute when I talk about the embedded spatial intelligence piece. If we have this might be a good insurance use case actually. If we have a weather event, for example, that's happening, what we'll often do in a 1.5 world is, first of all, and we're worried about flooding, we'd first of all ask for a flood zone map, for example. So we'll see a flood zone map. We then might ask machine learning, can you identify the objects there that are homes, not businesses? I mean, again, let's just talk about that, object detection. So you'll get on that map overlays or markers of where each of those homes are. So machine learning has done its work. It's able to identify in an image, a raster image, which are the homes and which are not the homes. So the next part of that 1.5 process, if flooding's a worry, is have an analyst kind of do additional work, throw data into that, and at some point you'll arrive at something that says, you know, these are the most likely flood zones based on this storm. It's all static data. There's a whole load of work that gets from bringing the data together and then finally making a decision about what to do next. That might be too late. So where we're moving to when I talk about embedded spatial intelligence is a real paradigm shift. It's in this geospatial 2.0 world. So what it's focused on is AI first, not map first, AI first, and question first as well. So it's really based around a user asking a question of the system and the system having the intelligence to come back with the right answer. So let me illustrate that with the example I was just giving, some sort of weather event. Imagine that you are an insurance company and you're worried about the risk of a storm. So you may have trained machine learning on past events, past weather events, which are similar maybe to this one. It's a hurricane, for example. So you've got those trained models. So you can ask a whole multitude of questions of that machine learning model based on what's about to happen. So you can run what if scenarios. What if there is a hurricane that's brewing in the Caribbean somewhere that's going to come towards a particular city? Well, you might have a model trained on that past event and you might be asked various questions of that. Maybe you simply want to get a report, which is just a claims report. What potentially could it look like? Let's take another angle on that. What about if we add dynamic data to that? Suppose we're streaming in real-time weather data of that storm. Suppose we're then able to say, generate a report for me based on past events, a predictive report on what's happening with that storm right now. So we've got indicators of wind, precipitation, hail, etc. So we've got a dynamic environment there. So we can generate reports in near real time of the potential impact that storm might have on claims. That's huge. That's one machine learning example. Let's move to generative AI and agentic AI. We could move to another system, again, which allows us to ask specific questions of the system. So we can ask using generative AI a question, and we don't have to be an expert. We could be anyone in an insurance company, for example, and we'll get an instant answer back. So it's ingesting all that real-time data. It knows what's happened historically. And generative AI has that ability to provide you the ability to ask those questions and interpret what you're asking. Maybe to reframe the question slightly. Agentic AI is in the background having the ability to connect all those pieces and bring expertise to the table to answer the question. So the output may well be, it may be a map. It might be recommendations on things one should do based on what's about to happen. So it's very much a world where we're moving, not just in the 1.4Y, we're talking about context and some level of insight. What we're talking about in the 4.0 world is yes, context, yes, insight, intelligence to understand what's happening, and then some level of decision making and recommendation off of that. That's a complete paradigm shift. And the output depends on the question. So when I talk about the differences, and people ask me about this embedded spatial intelligence piece, what I'm really talking about is that giant shift from the map-centric world to an AI-first question-based world, which may or may not involve a map. That's a very big jump. So anyway, that's my talk for today. Any questions, any things you want to comment, I'm always welcome that. And for today, thanks for watching.